Today on the newscast, Israel and the U.S. conducting a major joint Air Force drill, a message clearly to Iran, but at the end of the day, will Israel be forced to act alone? Get my take next. Hey folks, Eric Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman newscast. Israeli fighter jets in Nevada. Don't be surprised. Several Israeli F-35 fighter jets will be flying over the U.S. mainland over the next several days as part of a joint Air Force drill with the U.S. Air Force called Red Flag Nellis 23-2. Now, we'll call it Red Flag for short, but it's taking place at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, a few miles north of Las Vegas. It kicked off on Sunday, March 12th. It will last through Friday, March 24th. And folks, again, it is a major drill, undoubtedly a message to the Iranian regime as Israel continues to warn Iran about its nuclear program and that Israel will take all necessary measures to eliminate Iran's drive for nuclear weapons. But will Israel be forced to act alone? We're going to break that down today, plus a few more details about this major joint Air Force drill with the U.S. But before we get into it, we talk a lot here on the newscast about Israeli innovation and how Israel is blessing the world with amazing scientific, high-tech health and medical breakthroughs. Well, BioHarvest Sciences is one Israeli company that we love here at The Watchman that's on the cutting edge of improving the daily lives of people around the world. They've introduced an incredible product called Vinia, which is now Israel's leading blood flow superfood. Now, the reason why Vinia is so effective is because it increases blood flow and improves circulation, which means you'll have more physical energy and mental alertness throughout the day to do the things that you love. Vinia significantly increases the dilation of your arteries, which means more oxygen and nutrients get to your brain, your heart, and other tissues that support heart health. Folks, there's really nothing else like it on the market that I know of, and best of all, it is made in Israel, which means you're not only getting healthier, but you're also blessing Israel through supporting Israeli-made products and companies. You see the information there on your screen. To get started with Vinia, just call 1-800-600-3619 or visit ViniaBloodFlow.com. That's ViniaBloodFlow.com. And be sure to use the discount code WATCHMAN to get a 10% discount on your first Vinia purchase. Hey, don't miss out on this great opportunity to improve your health and well-being. I highly recommend that you try Vinia today, and I highly recommend that the Iranian regime should be very concerned when Israel says it will not allow Iran to acquire nuclear weapons. Now, more on those statements from Prime Minister Netanyahu in a minute, but first, back to the Red Flag drill, the joint Air Force drill between the U.S. and Israel right now, and its connection to the Iranian threat. Now, the first Red Flag exercise took place way back in 1975. It's been an annual thing where the U.S. looks to strengthen its military ties and alliances with its European allies. Israel obviously works very close with NATO, Europe, and the U.S., so it's a natural fit for Israeli fighter jets, several of them, F-35s, to take part in Red Flag this year in 2023. Now, again, it's out of Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, and what they will be practicing, U.S. fighter jets and their Israeli counterparts, fighter pilots, number one, flying at low altitudes, flying at long distances, great significance there. In a minute, we'll break that down as well. And then perhaps most crucially, mid-air refueling. Now, Israeli planes will refuel American planes in midair and vice versa. They will also, the U.S. and Israeli Air Forces together, work on hitting targets, etc. Again, folks, a pretty wide-ranging Air Force drills lasting over 12 days. But let's backtrack to the distances and the mid-air refueling. And we said at the top, look, clearly a message to Iran. Folks, number one, Iran lies some 1,200 miles from Israel. It's a longer distance, than Israeli fighter jets would usually travel. Although over the years, reportedly, we've had Israeli strikes in eastern Syria along the Iraq border. Iran, again, that's a long distance, 1,200 miles, which brings us to the second point, mid-air refueling. Now, it would seem that Israel would, at some point, Israeli fighter jets on their way to Iran or on their way back, that they would need to refuel because, again, it's such a long distance. What would be obviously key there is to have a mid-air refueling plane. Now, the U.S. has these, and they are selling them to Israel, but here's the catch. Israel isn't set to receive 4 of these refueling planes until 2025 from the United States. Israel wants to expedite that. So far, the U.S. government, the Biden administration, has been reluctant to do that. Now, clearly, Israel would want to expedite that because the Iranian regime is on the march towards the bomb to the point where the IAEA, the UN's atomic watchdog, as we've reported here in the newscast, said recently that, look, at least some of the several Iranian nuclear sites which are scattered throughout the country, Iran has enriched uranium at an 84% clip. Now, not to get too in the weeds with all the uranium enrichment numbers, but know this. To develop the bomb, to develop nuclear weapons, you need to enrich uranium at a 90% clip. Iran's at 84%. Folks, that's a hop, skip, and a jump to having enough uranium enriched to develop nuclear weapons. Massive red flag, and that's not Israeli intelligence saying that, U.S. intelligence. That's the IAEA, the UN, which has taken great pains essentially to appease the Iranian regime at every turn. We reported last week here in the newscast even that Rafael Grossi, the head of the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, again, it's the UN's atomic watchdog, he said that, and I quote, any military strikes against nuclear facilities are outlawed. A message to Israel clearly from the head of the IAEA telling Israel, don't you dare strike Iran's nuclear facilities. He made this comment, of course, after a visit to Tehran where he met with Iranian regime officials. But I hate to break it to Mr. Grossi, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responded right away to those comments. Israel is going to do what it feels it needs to do to protect the world's one and only Jewish state. And folks, with Iran, again, upping those enriched uranium numbers, continuing to harden these nuclear sites deep underground, harder targets, more and more. Israel is certainly getting antsy, I guess is an understatement. Benjamin Netanyahu said recently, common sense here, the longer we wait, the harder it gets. A harder target, again, underground, hardened, and Iran building up its defenses around these nuclear sites. It's great that the U.S. and Israel are conducting these joint Air Force drills. And this follows, of course, back in January, the largest military drills ever between the U.S. and Israel called Juniper Oak. Those drills took place in Israel. But when the rubber hits the road, Joe Biden says he wants to prevent a nuclear Iran, certainly says all the right things. But when the rubber hits the road, will the Biden administration really be side by side with Israel confronting this Iran nuclear threat? Folks, I'm sad to say, I don't think so. I think Israel will be forced to act alone, perhaps some kind of under the radar assistance from Sunni Arab nations. We'll see how this Saudi-Iran restoration of ties affects that, as we've reported the last few days on the newscast. Check that out in our archives if you missed it. Can Israel still use Saudi airspace to strike Iran? Was that the plan in the first place? We don't know, but what we do know is that Israel has been preparing for a potential strike against Iran's nuclear weapons program for years. Folks, stay tuned. We will discuss this more on tomorrow's Watchman Newscast live stream. We're going for a full hour here on the channel between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to join us live and bring your questions for our Q&A session. Until then, thanks so much for joining us here on The Watchman. God bless you, and remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.